Hi people, my name is Argandios, and in this video I'm going to talk about all the Shadowlands, conduits, covenants, legendaries, and soulbinds, okay? But before we go with the conduits, with all of that, there have been several changes to the Shadow Priest talents that I must talk before, because, well, they didn't make it in the previous video, okay? They were made after I did that, I recorded. So, let's go. The changes are in the lines 40 and 45. In the 40 line, we have Auspicious Spirits has been nerfed, okay, slightly nerfed, so no, it does less damage. Second Link is the same, and Shadow Crash have been revamped, okay. No, it's not that we have 3 charges and launches, no, it's one charge only, but it does a lot of damage. So, no, for single target we will use Auspicious Spirit. For several targets, Psychic Link is kind of better, but Auspicious Spirit is very near of Psychic Link, okay. So if you don't want to use Psychic Link, you can use Auspicious Spirit, no problem at all. And finally, Shadow Crash is for when we have several targets that are very joined together, okay. Mythic Plus is going to be probably the talent to go, this one. In single target is not bad, but Auspicious Spirit is ahead for a little bit, okay? But as I said, it's not really bad for single target. The other changes is in the 45 line. So we have Void Torrent. It has been changed a lot. The cooldown has been reduced from 45 to 30 seconds. The channel time has been changed from 4 seconds to 3 seconds, and now it generates 60 insanity over the duration. What does this mean? Okay, this means that this talent is finally competitive. Finally, at last, I don't know how many years later, is competitive. Finally, very good talent right now. Okay, so actually for single target fights, unless they have a very lot or a very high amount of movement, we will use Void Torrent. And Mind Bender, we will use it for fights with really a lot of movement, maybe PvP if we have to move a lot, and Mythic Plus. For Mythic Plus, my Mind Bender is superior to Void Torrent, especially with one of the legendaries that I will talk about it later. So now, finished with this, let's go with the main topic of this video, which is covenants and all the things around. Let's begin with Necrons. Okay, every covenant has 2 abilities. Okay, one general ability that every class can use, and then a class-specific ability. The general ability for Necrons is called Fleshcraft, and what it's going to do is put a shield around us, okay, after 4 seconds cast. Now, this ability has a nice synergy with Desperate Prayer, okay, because Desperate Prayer increases of health, so we can use Desperate Prayer, then we stay 4 seconds saying, hey, I'm here, look at me, and the shield that should be 20% of our health, okay, is going to be much higher than that 20% of our base health. It will be at 20% higher than it should have been without the use of Desperate Prayer. Of course, what the issue that if we use Desperate Prayer to increase Fleshcraft shield, we will not be able to use Desperate Prayer until the cooldown has been restored. So keep that in mind. Now, regarding the class-specific ability, we have Unholy Nova. An explosion of dark energy infects enemies within 15 yards with Holy Transfusion and heals allies for an amount based on numbers of targets. This means that the more targets there are, the less this is going to heal or do damage. Now, what's the issue with this ability? I'm going to show you. It throws a green ball to the place where the mob is actually staying. What does mean? It means that if the mob moves like from here to here, okay, before the ball crashes, it will receive absolutely no damage at all. Okay, so be careful with that. Also, if you hit several mobs and one of them dies, you are losing damage, etc, etc, etc. So be careful with that kind of things. Requires a bit of thinking, the use of this ability. Okay. Now, regarding soulbinds, we have the soulbinds, Marileth, Emeni, and Heirmir. We're going to use only Emeni and Heirmir. They are very near in single target damage. About I think it's about 0.05% of something like that of each other. Okay, it's not even a 1% of difference. But in several targets, so for Mythic Plus, we will go with Heimir. Okay, much better than Emeni in several targets. Now let's move and go with a Vampire Fence from Belfry. Let me test it. Okay, general ability, we have Dura Shadows, which is a teleport. Casted teleport, so no perfect, but a teleport. Which for Shadow Priest is very good because one of our weak spots is mobility. So we can arrange that with it a little bit. Now, the class ability is called Mind Games. It will deal a bunch of damage. It does a lot of damage. Okay, I have literally erased some things while I was leveling in the new leveling, and there were some mobs that literally I was using Mind Games and then Power Shadow War Death, and the mob was dead. Literally. It also will put a debuff in the mob, okay, and for the 5 next seconds, all the damage it does will turn into healing. So there are two parts. It does not do the damage, which is an absorption, and it heals, which is a healing, okay? So take that in mind. And it will generate up to 20 insanity depending on the amount of damage that is turned into healing, okay? I launch it on 40 seconds, and as you can see, here is the buff, and while it lasts, it will give us insanity if it does damage. No? Okay, regarding soulbinds, we have Nadja, Theotar, and Draven. We are not going to use Draven. Away from that, Nadja and Theotar are very near, both in single target and multi-target. So whichever of them you prefer to use, is go. Early on, you will probably go with Nadja, and later you will move to Theotar, but as long as advances the expansion. One thing I have forgotten to say, okay, about Necrolords, Penthir, and Kyrian, is that their abilities scale with our mastery. That is, if we have our dots in the mob, okay, this ability will deal more damage than if we do not have the dots on the mobs. So take that in mind. We want to use them when we have the dots on the mobs. Okay. Now let's go to Night Fae. Night Fae has been rewarded for Shadow Priest just kind of 3 days ago. Okay, so this is all new for all of us. Okay, let's begin with the general ability. The general ability is called Soul Shape. What it's going to do is going to teleport us and transform into this kind of fox. Okay, it's like the ghost wolf of the shamans. And if we reuse the ability, it teleports us. It lasts for 12 seconds out of any resting place. I am in a rest place now, so it lasts forever, unless I want to cancel it. But outside this place is 12 seconds. And now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is called Fey Guardians. Fey Guardians, it puts 3 Fays, okay? 2 of them on us, we don't need to do anything, and a 3rd one that will go to the mob we have target. Okay, so I'm going to use them, and as you can see, 1 Fey here, and I have 2 Fays. One of the Fays will reduce the damage taken by me by 10%. If I use Shadowment, in someone, it will move. Well, I have cast it on myself, so bad luck because I cannot cast it in it. But if I could cast, then the Fey would have moved here. Okay, and well, that would have been the Benevolent Fey, not the Guardian Fey. And the Guardian Fairy will have moved using Power Shield. No, until Friday, the Benevolent Fairy affected the cooldown of Shadow Fiend and Mindbender, which made the Fidis the worst ability by far. But now it affects the cooldown of Void Eruption, which is great. Absolutely good now, okay? It's a very good ability, no problems, you don't need to be okay, it's simply you follow your rotation, and when you have Void Eruption in cooldown, you use it again, no problems, okay? It has the little problem that it makes Void Eruption not coincide neither with Shadow Fiend nor Mindbender, which without this Covenant it will do, which helps with the rotation. But even with that, we win a lot of damage, okay? So it's okay now. Regarding soulbinds for the Night Fae, we have Ninja, Dreamweaver, and Corain. In single target damage, the three of them are very near, about 0.1% between them. Okay, so they are very near. Corain, I think it's before a little bit, no, or Neya, I don't remember. Okay, but they are almost the same. The difference is for several targets. As with Necrolords, there are one that is better for several targets and Mythic Plus than the others, and this one is Corain. If you do Mythic Plus, you will want to use Corain. If you want to do any other content for single target, you will pick any of them. Is good enough. Okay, so let's move to the last one, the last Covenant, which are Kyrians. Yes, I want to test them, please. Okay, the Covenant, the general ability is called Summon Steward. We are going to summon this little owl here, which will give us this. Oops, not here. These three fields of serenity. They restores 20% 20% health and removes all diseases, poisons, curses, and bleeds. It's a nice ability, probably the let's say the less good of all of them, in my opinion, because both Benthir and Night Fae are very good, and they allow to give us a lot of mobility. And I say the Necrolord Shield is slightly better than this one, but this is a very good one too. So do not feel bad because, oh no, but I want to go Kyrian. Go Kyrian and don't worry about it. Okay. Now, regarding the ability is called Boon of the Center. It's going when we launch it. It's a caster time, okay, and it's going to transform this button here, okay, with an explosion, and this button here with its Mind Flay with an instant cast ability, okay, that is single target. We have to cast them as much as we can, and then they will do 3% an explosion of damage that will do 3% extra damage for each time we were able to use the ability. I'm going to show you now. Here, launch it, 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 air, 7, air, and the final explosion. Okay, so as you see, it's very good for a lot of targets, but it locks into a rotation that is very different than the rotation we usually do. Also, if we miss the rotation or do it wrong, okay, we lose a lot of damage. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. This goes from the best from multi-target to the worst almost. Okay, well, not the worst because Benthir has no several targets whatsoever, but you know what I mean, okay? It's you lose a lot of damage. Now, regarding soulbinds, this covenant has only one good soulbind for Shadow Priest, which is Pelagos. Neither Cleria nor Mechanicos are worth the time or the effort to even think of them. So, this is where we are. Now, regarding damage, okay, all of the covenants are very near one another. I think the difference is between 2% to 0.3% or something like that, okay, between each of them. So I have to tell you what are the pros and the cons. In several targets, Necrolords and Kyrian do more damage, but if you mess with them, so the way you use them, that is, if Necrolords you use it and the mobs move or one of them is about to die, and in Kyrians if you have to move suddenly and have to use power the shield and you lose the rotation, or have to dispel something or whatever, you are going to lose a lot of DPS. So take that into account. Benthir and Night Fae does not have that problem. Okay, if you messed up with Benthir or Night Fae, the amount of DPS you're going to lose is much lesser. But as I say, Kyrian and Necrolord, if right used, if you do it perfect, are the best, but if you mess it up, are the worst. Go to the worst. So in a middle scale, you can choose either Benthir or Night Fae. So choose the one you want to choose. Nothing more I can add into this. Okay, do what you want. Now let's move into conduits. I'm going to begin with the potency conduits for each of the covenants, which I will show you now. Here we are. So for Kyrian we have Courageous Ascension, Ascendant Blast, which is the explosion part of the rotation, deals 20% increased damage, and Ascendant Eruption, which is the big blast in the end of the ability, deals additional 1% damage per stack of Boon of the Ascendant, so more damage. It does not change the healing in any case, okay? And you can see the ranks here. Shattered Perceptions, conduit for main games. Mind games last additional 2 seconds, which means the mob has 2 seconds more to deal more damage and gives you all the insanity you need. And it increases the initial damage and the amount of damage that it transforms into healing. Okay, here you have the numbers, and well, that's all. One thing I forgot to say about the Benthir Covenant is that as even being only single target, for single target, which is one of the Shadow Priest usual worst spots, is the best. Okay, so very near. Necrolord is very near of Shattered Perception, but that's what it is. Necrolords, Festering Transfusion, Unholy Transfusion. The dot lasts 2 seconds longer and deals X% extra damage. You have the ranks here. And finally we have Night Fae. For Night Fae we have 5 Fermata. Your 5 Wardens leave behind a 60% effective copy of their benefit, lasting for 4 seconds first, 9 seconds to the last. This conduit does absolutely nothing for us. It's good for Discipline Priest, or it may be good for Discipline Priest. No Holy Priest will ever pick Night Fae, or should pick Night Fae. They can if they want, but they are losing a lot because it's, for Holy Priest is the worst covenant by far. And for us, this conduit does absolutely nothing. Okay, because we don't mind about it leaving a fire behind that. Okay, gives 6% the reduction damage to us and 10% to the one we put, or reduce the scrolldowns of whatever other player, or Okay, its utility, it's okay if you want to do utility, but it sincerely does nothing for us. So let's move now to the other potency conduits, which we have here. These are the other potency conduits for Shadow Priest. Okay, as you can see, I have Shattered Perception here, which is the potency conduit for the Benthir. If you are Necrolord, you have the Necrolord one, or the Kivan one, or the Night Fade one. Okay, so these potency conduits go here in these slots with the little crosses, and we have Rabbit Shadows. Your Shadow Fiend's attack speed is increased by 20%, 12%. Sorry. If you pick Mindbender, the extra attack speed goes to Mindbender, of course. And okay, let's clear one thing first. These conduits depend on which talent you use and which covenant you have picked. Depending on which of them, these conduits can be the best or even the worst. So there are conduits that go from top to bottom depending on all those variables. So I'm going to put a link in the description below to the calculations that Public and their friends did in their work. Okay, so I thank very much to Public for all those sims, and I will put the link below. Okay, now Rabbit Shadows. You pick this one when you pick Mindbender, which means when you go to Mythic Plus, or you have a boss fight in raid with a lot of ads that are going to be together, or several bosses that are going to be together, then Rabbit Shadows is the conduit. Is the best for those, and only for those. In single target, it becomes the worst conduit of all of them, and that includes the Covenant conduits, which are usually the worst for almost everything. Okay, now Mind Devourer. Mind Blast deals X% increases damage and has a 10% chance to make your next devouring plague cost no insanity. This is usually the worst conduit for both single target and well, the worst of the others conduits for both single target and several targets, except with some combinations of covenants and talents. So take a look at the link below when you know which covenant are you going to use, and say, okay, I'm going to pick this covenant, I'm going to pick these talents, so is this good or not? Now for single target we will use mainly Dissonant Echoes. Okay, this is the best for single target usually, and second best and very near from Dissonant Echoes is Haunting Apparitions. Your shadow apparitions deal 51% extra damage. Of course, these have synergy with Auspicious Spirits, so take that into account. Okay, and Dissonant Echoes, as I say, for single target is usually most of the time the best potency conduit. Now let's move. We have Finesse Conduits. These are conduits that, well, do something for us, but not really much. Power into others, power infusion incurs in a 6-second reduced cooldown when you cast it or an ally. Are we going to cast it on an ally? Well, we can if we have a certain legendary, but even with a legendary I say no, never. So useless. Move with Grace. Leap of Faith's cooldown is reduced by 26. Well, maybe if your raid leader tells you to pick it, you will pick it, but away from that. So, okay, utility, but nothing really interesting. Mental Recovery. After Psychic Screen ends, affected target's movement speed is reduced by 25% for 5 seconds. This can see some use in PvP, and in one of the new Mythic Plus affixes, it might be some use. Might. Okay? I'm not really betting for it anyway. And finally, we have Clear Mind. Dispel Magic, Purify, and Mass Dispel cost 20% less mana. Probably the best of all these conduits, because those need a lot of mana, but we don't really need mana so much. We are not Discipline Priest or Holy Priest, which drowns on mana, okay? For us, mana is kind of okay, it's there. Sometimes we use it. So I really don't know which one of these. Probably Clear Mind, but nothing really conclusive. And finally we have the Endurance Conduits, okay? Well, this Finesse Conduits goes there in these spots with the leaks, right? Okay? And finally we have the Endurance Conduits, which goes in the spots with the shields. We have Translucent Image. For the first 5 seconds of Fade, you take X% reduced damage. One thing about all these conduits, these are the lowest rank conduits. Okay, I have a few of the higher here, blue and epic, but these ones are the lowest ones. So these weight numbers, you will see them grow as you pick new conduits that are higher level. Okay, this is probably the best of the endurance conduits. It gives us a damage reduction that we can choose, we can manage. In PvP, it can be kind of bad if we use, let's see what it is, Greater Fate, okay? Because we are immune, so the reduced damage does nothing for us. But in PvE, it's probably the best of all of them. Let's Inspiration. Desperate Prayer heals you for an additional 6% of your maximum health over 5 seconds. Bit of utility, but sincerely I prefer reduced damage at mark, especially when we have a 30 seconds cooldown disability, than this one. So if I have to choose, Translucent Image. And finally we have Charitable Soul. Casting Power Word Shield on an ally, also shield to you for 15% X% of the amount for 10 seconds. How many times do we cast a Power Shield in another player? Well, that's the utility of this conduit, almost null. So now let's move to Legendaries. Okay, first Legendary, Talbal's Stratagem. While you have Shadow Word Pain, the volume play a Vampire Touch active on the same target, your Mind Blast deals 60% more damage. Second best Legendary for single target. Away from that, nothing. Eternal Call to the Void. Mind Flayer and Mind Seer have a chance to spawn a Void Tendril or Void Lasher that channels at your target for 15 seconds. They will channel either Mind Flay if we were casting Mind Flay, or Mind Seer if we were casting Mind Seer, generating 3 insanity every X seconds. This is the best legendary for Shadow Priest, by far in any content, except maybe PvP. But it has a terrible issue. It drops from the second last boss in Castellnatria, which means you will probably not begin the ride with this legendary. You will not have, if you only do PvP or Mythic Plus, you will not have this legendary in a long time unless you go to raid or you farm some mats with which you can have this power in some moment. Okay, so crap there. Shadow Flame Priest. Mind Blast and Shadow Word Death cause your Shadow Fiend to teleport behind your target, slashing up to 5 enemies for an amount of damage. If you do Mythic Plus or you have a boss fight with several mobs together, this is the second best legendary, again after Eternal Call to the Void. Penbreaker Psalm. Shadow Word Death consumes 8 seconds of Shadow Word Pain and Vampire Touch, instantly dealing that damage to the target and generating up to 20 sanity. This has a slight synergy with Death and Madness, but this means you have to snipe every single mob, because if you consume these dots, you will have to redot, losing a lot of time. In the end, it's not really so much a gain of time. or of DPS. So I personally, this is the worst of the legendaries. I would not use it at all. No, generally legendaries. Twins of the Sun Priestess, power infusion also grant you 100% of its effects when used on an ally. Your raid leader can tell you, hey, you must pick this legendary, and it has a synergy with the conduit we told before, but away from that, useless. Countering Shadows, where Shadow or Pain space on a target, 3 allies are healed. How many times are you going to let Shadow or Pain spare on a target? Never. Useless. Measured Contemplation. For every 15 seconds that you do not cast Shadowmen, the healing of your next Shadowmen is increased by 15%. Can see some uses somewhere in open world or in PvP, but I would not even craft it. Bolt of Heavens. Leap of Faith instead causes you to leap to your target and has 2 charges. I have seen this one in PvP during Legion, but not enough to do anything with it, okay? Judgement of the Arbiter. Dealing damage has a chance to release a blast of spiritual healing. This one does more damage than Painbreaking Psalm, okay? It does not reach the levels of any of these legendaries in its core, okay? But if you have to choose a 4th legendary, don't choose Painbreaking Psalm, choose Judgement of the Arbiter. Sefoot's Proclamation. This is an interesting one. Reduce the effectiveness of clone controlling effects by 10%, successfully applying a loss of control effect, interrupting, so silence, or dispelling any target, whatever is an opponent on or a disease in an ally or in ourselves, will give us 80 more stats in haste, mastery, crit, and versatility. This legendary in Mythic Plus is okay. Okay, it's not. It's almost near Shadowframe Prism. So if you are going to do Mythic Plus, this legendary is very good for healers in Mythic Plus. Okay, it's probably not the best, but it's very good. So if you are going to do Mythic Plus and PvP, this is the first legendary I would do. It's your choice. It comes in chest. I would do it in chest, but do whatever you want. Okay, as I say, for multi-specking, this is the best legendary by far. Especially if you do Mythic Plus. In Raid, this is not good at all, especially for Shadow Priest. It's a bit better for Discipline or for Holy, but for Shadow Priest, it's not good in Raid. In Mythic Plus, though, we're going to be dispelling, we're going to be interrupting, we're going to be CCing, so it's okay. Echo of Fiona, your spell and abilities. Well, your raid leader, or if you play in a fixed group of Mythic Plus, you might use this because it helps all DPSs, but the chance is low, and away from your raid leader forcing you to use it, or that you decide with your Mythic Plus group that you want to use it, you are not going to use it at all. Organ of Sagacity. Casting a spell, Sagacity, grants Sagacity. Stacking up to 10 times. When you move, you are able to cast while moving for half a second for each stack of Sagacity. So 5 seconds initial, you can cast more things and have more seconds. Shadow Priest lost trait is mobility. This gives a bit of mobility, but I don't think it deserves the spot, sincerely. Maw Rattle. Killing an enemy has a high chance to summon an especially Maw Rat at the corpse's location. You kill something, you spawn a rat, maybe, probably, and it will go and do damage to the next mob. Might see some uses in Mythic Plus, but probably Torghast is his natural place, or maybe outdoor, but sincerely there are better legendaries. Third Eye of the Jailer. Killing an enemy grants you the third eye, increasing your intellect by 1% up to 7%, but it only lasts for 10 seconds. You might see this one in Mythic Plus sometimes, but I think Sefoot is better, sincerely, and well, these others are much better, so it's not really good enough. Stable Phantasmalure. This one increases Phantasma by 25% in Torghast. this, if you are going to do Thorghast a lot, if you are going to run Thorghast and Thorghast and Thorghast and Thorghast, then this is a very good legendary. If you're not going to do that, it's useless. And finally we have Bitarity Sacrifice, taking significant damage for a player or an elite enemy, increase the damage and healing by 3% of the damage taken, up to a maximum of 90% of your maximum damage for 20 seconds. And this effect can only happen every 30 seconds. So it's kind of a, supposing you can use the extra 9% damage every time, is about 6% extra damage at all. And the most must hit you, so in PvP might be good, and soloing is good, or might be good, in Torghast especially, but for raid or for Mythic Plus you're not going to use it. And that's all. This is the resume of all the things: Covenant, Solvents, Conduits, and Legendaries. I hope this video helps you. I hope the Blizzard does not change anything before I release the video or after, before the expansion releases. And only tells you to enjoy the expansion. I think it's the service. And well, be happy. See you in the next one.